Welcome back to the D4 channel. Today we'll be discussing Season 2, Episode 4 of The Bad Batch. So if you haven't seen Episode 4 of Season 2 of The Bad Batch, leave now because this is a spoiler review.
Your ringer is a droid.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You have a problem with droids, human? You think you can make the split-second calculation to one out there? You want to challenge Teo?
Alright, so after coming off Episode 3, The Solitary Clone, a lot of people would call this episode a filler episode, but I don't think that's the case. We learned that Hunter and Echo are off on some other miscellaneous adventure, helping their squad get the funds or the materials they need to become more free soldiers, while they leave Omega, Wrecker, and Tech off in Sid's place. And Sid, takes those three off for basically a side adventure. And if you remember in Episode 1, pod racing is a thing, and we finally see pod racing back again. And honestly, me and Daniel were talking like we want a video game made off of this track and off of this whole thing. Now, obviously there is a pod racing game, but I want a more updated, more exciting version of pod racing, kind of like what we saw in this episode, which I thought was pretty dang cool. And it's like what George Lucas always says.
It's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
So we basically learn a little bit more about Sid and a little bit about her past. Not a lot, but we meet one of her friends. I forget his name. This giant alien that we call the Star Wars version of Thanos, because he literally has the Thanos-like build. And we see them gambling on the pod racing games. Sid loses, and now she's owned by this guy, her so-called old friend. But as always, Omega, with her kindness, comes in and says, no, let's make it another bet. If you win, we pay you double. If they win, they get Sid back. So that is what happens. And I love this droid that they have racing for them. His name is Tau. He's probably the most humanoid droid in Star Wars. I absolutely love him. Sadly, he doesn't last very long because not only does he get destroyed by the first race, he gets run over in the second race and destroyed. So that makes Tech the sole guy to take over for this racetrack. And Tech, honestly, is more of a cyborg than that robot. But Tech was studying the tracks. He was learning the sport, even though they know nothing about racing. And Tech was able to come out on top with his maneuverability and his knowledge. And they were able to free Sid. And we learned from that guy, their loyalty is admirable. But Sid might come back to betray them. So I think this episode kind of plants the seeds in our minds that something devastating might happen in the later episodes that will cause Sid to not be as loyal as Omega and the Bad Batch have been to them. We're learning that obviously the Empire might eventually come through in the entire galaxy, including Sid's home of operations, and that might push Sid to choose between survival and the Bad Batch. So even though a lot of people will say this episode's a throwaway, I think it plants a lot in terms of what we might expect to see from Sid later on in the episodes when push comes to shove. Now, I hope it doesn't happen because I honestly do like Sid and I like her relationship with Omega in particular. So I really hope she chooses, the light side option. But this is Star Wars and this is the time of the Imperial occupations, and I really hope this is not true, that Sid might betray the Bad Batch. But overall, I thought this was a fun episode. Not nearly as deep as the last episode, but still a very fun episode. I give this episode a solid 7 out of 10. It was just good to see pod racing again. And all that fun kind of alien shenanigans across the galaxy, just to see other parts of the universe, just what they're doing in this time period. So I very much enjoyed the episode. Let me know what you thought about the episode in the comment below. Did you like this episode? Did you think it was a filler episode? Let me know. Again, like and subscribe to the D4 channel. And as always, from me, Hamid Mark, and my counterpart, Daniel Edward, may the Force be with you.